What is Paco?
Glad you asked. Paco is a tool for answering questions in your own life, like, where the hell did all my time go? So basically, Paco allows you to create quick little experiments for your mobile phone, right now just Android, and then that experiment will sample you randomly and collect data from you, and then you can reflect on it and say, oh, that's where my time went.
Okay.
So it has a server piece where you design these experiments, and you can do them just for yourself, or you can share them with the population, and then they go to the phone, you run it from there, that's where you mostly interact with it. But then you can mash up your data with our server APIs as well to build other things like all kinds of stuff.
So it's really an entry point in a lot of ways for taking your data and maybe putting it into other people's data, or using that to get your own feedback loop.
Definitely. I mean, I think the experiential sampling piece is kind of amazing because it allows you to really get at subjective daily experience, which is kind of hard to get to in any other way that isn't completely subjective in its own right.
So you mentioned experiential sampling. I mean, what is that, and how is it fitting in here?
So experiential sampling, I like to say that it's the psychology world's recognition of what computer scientists have always known. Basically that, randomization is the key to any good algorithm, right? Like you need to be able to sample a space uniformly. And so what the psychologist did in the 70s, this guy Csikszentmihalyi, the guy who invented the flow concept, he needed to come up with a more accurate way to study people's daily experience. And he'd been using diary studies where it's a fixed time of day. And they had all kinds of biases, like retrospective recall bias, schedule bias, because you knew you were going to be signaled. So he came up with this idea of randomly sampling them using interns instead of an Android phone, who would then ping the subjects, have them fill out a booklet. And they found out now over 40 years, thousands of studies, this is a much more valid technique, surprise, for getting at experience of participants.
So with Paco, was the goal, or one of the goals, to reduce the amount of time between sort of the idea for a trackable moment and the actual experimentation? Is it sort of really trying to compress that?
At first, no, not at all. At first, the goal was really to build sort of a personal companion. I had this, this question of where the hell did my time go, and things like, am I happy on this project, right? And I didn't feel like I could get at that unless I did something like took a meticulous journal, and I tried that many times, and it lasted about 2 weeks. So I wasn't getting enough data. So that was the original goal. And then over time, we realized, well, we have to have some reason to be doing this at work at Google. Like, we're in engineering tools. It's like, well, we could study engineering productivity. Because I wonder, where does my time go when I'm working? What did I work on? Am I passionate about what I'm working on? Am I being productive? And we didn't want it to be a tool for managers. We wanted it to be a tool for individuals to run on themselves and keep the data private. So there's a lot of privacy aspects to it. But then we started realizing, engineers are people. Other people might find this useful as well. And so we started talking and found that, lo and behold, there was no other toolkit out there for mobile experiential sampling on any modern phone operating system. And so I thought, okay, here's a need that we can meet. And it'd be interesting to see what behavioral scientists do with this tool, since they sort of came from their world anyway. And so then we really needed to shorten this time between when you think of an experiment and try it. And we were an innovation group. We focused on quick iterations. What's the stupidest, simplest thing you can do to try out your idea, the cheapest thing? And it works for experience sampling experiments too. Now researchers can go in who'd have no programming experience, build a little experiment on the web, publish it themselves in a minute, start running it on their own phone and trialing it and going, okay, these are the questions I really want to ask to get at the data I'm looking to answer. And then if not, you just go edit the definition on the server, resync it on the phone, boom, in minutes. Same thing with running a study. If you've recruited 1,000 participants for a behavioral science study of some sort, I don't know, we've got all kinds of things going on, and you realize one of the questions isn't giving you the data you want, you can tweak the question and automatically everyone will get the new version. So now it has that, and it's amazing all the things you can do because of that quick iterative pace.
So last question for you. You hinted at this a little bit, but how is it being used? I mean, and did you have a sense that it would be used in those ways when you were first conceptualizing it?
It's being used in tons of ways, and I could not have imagined most of them. I'm surprised I even keep finding new ways to use it. So from the completely, one of the early experiments we did was around passion and productivity. We were trying to replicate part of some of the original ESM experiments where we looked at random sampling with a person at work, an engineer. Are you passionate about what you're doing right now? Do you feel productive? And we saw a correlation that was statistically significant of Yeah, like if I'm passionate about what I'm doing, I'm productive.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not passionate about it, I'm usually not productive. Oddly, I can still be productive when I'm not passionate sometimes. I don't know how long that lasts, but yeah, so that's one case. Other people have used it for allergy tracking. We're now using it externally, like Csikszentmihalyi's people are using it in their graduate programs for psychology students. And the University of Chicago Medical School is using it in community stuff in the South Side, trying to understand population health.
Wow.
Other people are using it. I've been working with the NIH and the National Institute for Drug Abuse to understand substance abuse, mental health disorders, like just all kinds of things. And one of our other experiments that's been pretty popular, at least inside Google, was Michael Pollan, this food author, has written about the politics of food and eating healthy. And he has this little meme and a haiku, which is eat real food, mostly plants, not too much. So we did an experiment that basically just at 1:30 in the afternoon, it pings you and says, did you eat real food? Was it mostly plants, not too much? And after about 3 weeks of running this experiment, we all noticed that our plate had completely changed configuration. And we've kind of stuck with it now over like a year and a half. Like everyone kind of eats that way. And some of us have lost some weight. And it was just this dead simple thing. But yeah, I could just give you a litany of things like fuel consumption, spats with my wife, the dog's barking late at night, whatever it is. Like you can build a quick little tracker. Right. They're not like beautiful trackers, but they're functional and they're quick to make. So you can do a whole life of experimentation.
Wow. So, I mean, you really stumbled onto something there, didn't you? I mean,
it seems like it, yeah. And we're looking to launch it soon. We have a private beta that, we've got about 150 people using it right now, and we're ramping that up. But it's crazy. Like, people are using it for things I've never imagined. So it's
great.
Kind of like personal science.
That's great. Definitely something to keep an eye on, too.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks. Great to talk to you.